Hey, how are you? Oh no, you're still muted.
You're telling me, the screen's telling me.
That's okay. Happy Monday. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Yay.
I
Are you
am
warm?
good. It is
Did you guys?
warm out today. We had some kind of a
Hmm.
warm front come through overnight.
Yeah.
It's
Love
probably
it.
gonna bring rain or something, but like, I don't care. I can deal with warm rain.
No, warm rain. That's okay. We can deal with it. Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
sent that over your way. There's
appreciate it.
cold right behind it, just so you know. Because
Thanks
it's
for
pretty
that.
chilly here this morning. Just a
Yeah, I
warning.
know.
Just
I
a
was
warning.
looking at the weather. So we every year we actually jump in the ocean on New Year's Day. Not even
Ooh,
as a fundraiser like normal people, just like for funsies.
just for fun. Just for free and for fun.
Yeah, and this morning I was like, "Oh man, why isn't it New
Ooh.
Year's Day?"
Why is it today New Year's Day? Right,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. No,
yeah.
because I'm pretty sure you're right. It's probably going to be
It's gonna be like in the
chilly.
20s. Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
love
not,
it.
it's not that enjoyable in that moment, but after you
Mm.
get out of the water and get dressed, it feels so good.
Man, I'm going to tell you. So my son is this runner, and he is very like things. Anyway, cold plunge is real. Like, we don't have
Yeah.
to talk about that today, but the science behind that is real. I am working my way towards a cold shower. I can do a blast of cold. And so
Yeah.
that's as good as I get right now. And I have noticed a difference in both my skin and how I feel. So anyway, there is something to be said for that. Side note, right? That was total side note.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
It's
love
one of those
it.
things I enjoy the after effect. Um but I only do it once a year. You're not going to catch me in an
Not
ice
mad about
bath.
it. Not mad
Yeah.
about that. So I love it. So what are we talking about today, Miss Kayla?
um you know what? I already deleted the email.
Oh no. Well, I happen to have it. It is okay. It is our our quote comes from an unknown source. You owe yourself the love that you so freely give to other people. And our pillar is boundaries and self-care. Um, Yeah, so there's that. Do you want to kick us off? Since I just gave you the
Yeah,
quote.
I
What
mean,
is your first reaction to that?
it's a good reminder. However, I feel like people tend to read this or hear this or something along the lines and like, oh yeah, I love myself. And I think we tend not to put enough emphasis on what that self-love actually looks like on day-to-day
Mm,
practice. Because
yeah.
a lot of the things that I see get labeled as self-care, um, I wouldn't classify as such. And
I love it.
sadly, that's actually the first thing that comes to mind when I read this quote the other day. I got to get myself together because I even have the quote on my weekly schedule and didn't think about that either. I was just like, "Oh, I deleted it." But that's what I was thinking about though when I looked at it the other day. I was like, I think it's just one of those things that a lot of people like it sounds good and not along with, but don't actually stop to think about the day-to-day implications.
Mm. I love that. It kind of goes along with one of the things that I put on my notes here is that really this whole idea of how do we love ourselves and what does that look like? For me, it really comes down to these boundaries and the fact that overextension is really not a capacity issue. It's a leadership issue.
Mm,
And when we fail to put some kind of containment around our efforts and our work, we tend to confuse our availability with our value. And when we truly step into leadership and CEO status of our practice, we shift that to managing our energy the same way we manage our cash flow, which means we have protections. Like we don't just willy-nilly spend money, right? I mean, that's not a responsible way to run our business. However, sometimes we do willy-nilly spend our time and energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's really something important to think about because the truth is that if if my practice only works when I'm overextended, it's not actually working,
Yeah.
right? Like, right? And so we've got to put some boundaries around that. And that to me is what that looks like. Like, what is
And to
that
be
in the day to day? Like,
Yeah. And to be fair, like I just want to add in a caveat. Like there is ebb and flow and there are seasons. Like there are going to be times where overextension is required. Like nobody said this would be easy, right? Like and it's this concept of like living in balance doesn't mean perfectly balanced all the time. But
all the
if the
time.
baseline of functioning the business requires you to be overextended, that is the issue.
Yes, 100%. Right. Because I think, like you said, everything we talked about, I think a couple of weeks ago, that squirrely line, right, from here to there, right? And that's what that is. So today I may be overextended, but it means that tomorrow that I need to compensate for that. And, like you said, the baseline needs to be, because if that baseline operations requires me to be overextended, it is not sustainable. It's not going to work, no matter what anybody says.
And
It's just not.
here's the like even getting more meta. Like not only is that like not good for you, not enjoyable, leads to burnout, all of those things.
It's not
But
good for anyone.
I want you to take a step back for a second and think about hiring a therapist. Okay? Would you hire a therapist who is so frazzled and overworked and burnt out that they can't even show up fully present to your sessions? Absolutely not. And I think the role that we serve is a lot
Mhm.
closer to therapists than we necessarily talk about all the time. I
Yes,
mean, people,
$100%.
is our role. It's not like hiring a plumber. Like you can hire a plumber and like as long as they fix the clog in your sink, if they have a bad attitude or their priorities out of order, like it's not going to be a make or break situation.
Right.
That is not the role we serve here.
Right.
Our role as advocates is like I said a lot closer to that therapy role. Who we are as a person, the energy that we bring, the way that we approach situations without realizing it, that is what our clients are hiring us for.
Yeah.
So if we have handicapped our capacity to show up in the best way, we're also like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like you're stealing from your business's future in order to try to like cram everything in today. So it goes beyond just the impact of yourself, and it's the undoing of your business too.
Right? So, so true. Which is great. This is like, you would have thought we planned this because that's really a great segue into my next note. My next note actually says that CE is a self-care. Self-care at the CEO level, right? At the business level is operational, not personal.
Hmm.
And I love this because, like, literally taking care of ourselves and our business becomes an operational issue. We have to build it in to our day-to-day operations. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and I love this kind of overflows with what you said, like, it's not this crazy thing. You know what it is? It's saying, I'm going to take an hour lunch every day. Not even like when you're going to do it, but you can build that in and say, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to eat. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to read a chapter of my book. I'm going to get out of the business for 1 hour every day, so that I can come back rested and recharged for the afternoon or whatever time that is. My lunch doesn't happen the same time every day. And again, it's that balance and that baseline that we talked about, right? Um, And I think when we think about self-care as in that role, like building it into the day-to-day operations can make a huge difference, right? Just to keep ourselves aware. Because let's be honest, when we get in the throes of the work that we're doing, it's just go time. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all do it, right? We all do it. We all go, okay, I gotta go. This is what's happening. I gotta go right now, and I can't go until it's done. And I mean,
You
I
know,
don't
I
know,
think
maybe not, but I do.
there's also an element of like there's experimentation here. Like what self-care looks like for Nicole is not what self-care looks like for me, is not what self-care is going to look like for anybody else watching this video. And so there's an element of experimentation to, you got to see what fits for you. And like getting to know yourself better and like the
Mm.
ways in which you work best. Like honestly, so Nicole's suggestion just now of like take an hour lunch, my body was like absolutely not, like that would be terrible. Because I am a person that, like when I get into, if I'm working on something, it not always, not so much with client work, but more with like the working on the business stuff, like when
Mm.
I can get into that flow state, I want to preserve that at all costs. And because I do my best work there, it is easiest when I can be in that state and uninterrupted. And if I had an hour lunch on my calendar, well, it would just piss me off, really. Because when I get in that place, like my brain doesn't like, okay, clock out, like let's just relax. Like I would rather, and the way that I have it set up for me is I actually like, I have like my all my meals planned out. I actually I like batch cook and vacuum seal stuff so that I can literally just pull it out of the freezer and that's my meal for the day. And then I have sous vide, and so like I just pop it in and it just heats and it's ready, so I can just like grab my meal and come back and make sure that my body is well nourished with balanced foods to sustain that marathon that I'm in. Because for me, it is better to stay in that focus mode and finish in a couple of hours and then enjoy time at the end of the day than to punctuate it. But not everybody works that way. And so like the setup that I'm on, it probably isn't conducive to most people, I would actually argue. But the point being
Oh,
is like there it you gotta figure out what works for you, and like
right.
it's okay.
Right, right. But you do that, right? When you look at your time, it's like you do build, and I know you because we talk all the time. So I know that you are building that time into your operations. And that's the message. Like how you do it, ugh, lots of different
Yeah.
options, right? Lots of different ways. Like mine's on my calendar, but like I said, it doesn't happen every day at noon. You know, sometimes it happens earlier because I need a freaking break and I can't like get my ish together, right? Sometimes it happens later, sometimes it, you know, whatever. But the bottom line is we've got to be aware of it and we've got to be
Mhm.
accommodating for it, right? And saying, I've got to build this into my day so that I don't forget, because that I think is what happens to those of us who end up overextended and burned out.
Mhm.
We
You got
haven't
you got to
given that
build
awareness.
buffer space into your
Yes.
calendar. Like
Yes.
I actually, when I plan out my schedule for the week, like it stops at 5 p.m. A lot of times I don't stop working at 5 p.m., but I do stop scheduling things at that point,
Yes.
so that, because what I found works best for me is just kind of like I said, I either, my pendulum swings like way too far the other direction. So I'm either like deep in the work, like at all costs, and I don't want to stop, and that is my productivity state, or like I have to step away entirely. So like I had another day last week where just all of the things, I was just
Mm.
so tired and couldn't focus, and I still had things on my schedule, but I was like, this is
Mm-hmm.
dumb. Like I'm sitting here running in place basically. And I literally,
Mm-hmm.
I stopped working at 2:30 in the afternoon. I went and laid on the couch and then hung out with my
Yep.
kids for the rest of the day. And that was like Monday. Tuesday was also a challenging day. And then Friday, I got so much done. I was able to compensate from the stuff that I had
Yes.
missed because my brain and my body were back in that like full pedal alignment. It'd be nice if I could figure out how to make that exactly, 8 hours every day of the week. But the point is,
If you
I
do, let me
build that
know.
flexibility, right? I build that flexibility so that I can lean into what my body and my mind is asking for at those times, as opposed to
Right.
trying to fight.
Girl, which actually like brings us into which brings us into this whole other idea that we talk about, this intuition versus ego and when to listen and how to do all of that. Because that I think is what you're speaking to. I hear you speaking to being intuitive to what you need, both mind and body, and getting that to work together to hit your quote unquote flow. I think we've heard the word flow before, right? Whatever that is, but it is real. And it requires awareness and work, and not here's the big message. What Kayla and I think we're saying is that what it does not require is work harder, spend more time, push through, just do the thing and get it done. I don't, that is not our message. Our message is, to take care of ourselves, yourself, whatever that looks like for you, set it up so that you are optimizing your energy and your resources and the uniquely you that you bring to the world. Um, and be nice to yourself as you do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like the overarching theme that I wanted to make sure that we share. And that, in order for us to, and how this leads into advocacy and sustainable practices is about not the big deals, not the big elaborate efforts, but the everyday operations and how we show up daily for ourselves and the world and what that looks like. And it's not easy. Like you said at the top of the hour, I think, you know, it's easy to hear the quote and be like, oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. But are we actually doing it?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's my challenge is like audit your time this week. It's a great time. It's the beginning of the year, right? So it's a good time to really look at your calendar, look at the way you're operating, and is it in alignment with what your soul and your spirit and you need, or have you been trying to push something that's not really in alignment with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it feels like you're pushing a boulder through mud,
Mm,
it's probably an
probably not
alignment
it.
issue.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. I love that. I love that. If it feels like you're pushing a boulder through mud, because I think that's an action sometimes. And that is a good litmus test of when to like back off and be like, okay, I might have an alignment issue. I might have a perspective issue. I might, right? Hmm.
But I also would be remiss if we talked about self love and self care without briefly touching on my pet peeve.
Well, get it.
Because I feel like oftentimes self care and indulgence get conflated, and
Ooh.
there can be some overlap, but they are not mutually exclusive. And what do I mean by that? I often see self care being represented with things that are actually harmful to one's body. So like I've seen a wine glass that says like this is my self care.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
right. You see
mm.
where I'm going with this now.
I do.
And I just want to be very clear. Like, I mean, if you want to have a glass of wine every now and then, whatever. Like, I'm not your mommy, but like let's call a spade a spade. That's not self-care. Um, speaking as somebody who has had my fair share of wine glasses and then said, you know what, I don't think this is actually serving me anymore. The science is very clear. Like, no, alcohol is a poison, and no amount of it is helpful to our bodies. And then there's a lot of other things in that same category that tend to masquerade as self-care. And I think it's because, like, indulgence provides that instant gratification, and you get that dopamine hit, when you eat that tasty thing, or, all the endorphins that are released when your blood alcohol level is rising. Nobody talks about the fact that as soon as it starts to fall, all these other things counteract, and that's why you reach for another drink. And we could go on and on. There's, like, people will spend money on, like, I have a family member who every tax return spends all of her money on, like, trips and vacations under the banner of self-care. And I'm like, what would actually help you a lot more, though, is if you didn't have to live in a place that was riddled with mold for the rest of the year because you don't have the money to move somewhere else. Like, there's a lot of things we could call self-care, but again, I would be remiss if I didn't just put a pause and say, we got to reevaluate what that is, because to love yourself doesn't mean doing something for a short-term payoff or short-term gain that's going to be a long-term net negative.
Right. Right. Oh, for sure. Well, it's always interesting to me that how can it possibly be self-care when it's actually harming ourselves?
Because it feels
And I
good
think,
now.
yeah,
And that's
well,
the part that I feel like I don't think gets decoupled well
yeah,
enough. It's like, oh, well,
right.
it feels good, so it's taking care of myself. Well, sort of, but we gotta pull out that time horizon a
Yeah,
little bit more. Like, this
yeah.
morning, I in the beginning of the year, I had kind of got into weightlifting, and a couple months ago, I've had a slew of personal and business things happening, and I've just fallen off my routine. And I got back in this morning and lifted for the first time in 2 months, and I did not want to get out of bed this morning and do that. And all of the, like, reasons or
Yes.
excuses, frankly, that have been coming up, I was like, no, this is it. Like, this, I need to do this. Like, I'm a better person when I can go move some heavy crap and,
Yeah,
like, get some rage out.
right. True story.
And I would classify that as self-care. I mean, there's lots of good information about weightlifting, but anyways, but it didn't, at 6 a.m. when the alarm went off, it didn't feel like self-love.
Right. No, no, it just
And that's the point that
I'm
I
sure.
want to
Yeah.
bring out, is a lot of times
Yes.
the things that really are self-love start with
Don't feel good.
discomfort, right? And
Yeah.
especially when you start talking about boundaries, like, it's discomfort and it's
Hmm.
hard, and we tend to kind of overgeneralize that if it's hard and uncomfortable, then it's not good for us. And it's like, well,
Mm,
I would wager that if it's hard, it's probably a green flag that you're on the right track.
track, right? Because very rarely my mom used to say, we're running out of time, but my mom used to tell me that the right thing is usually the hard thing,
Mm.
And so if it's hard, it might be right for me. I don't know.
And
Yeah. I don't
truly,
know.
to
It's
love
something to think
ourselves is to
about.
give us is to do something today that our future self is going to be thankful for.
Right, right. This kind of goes back to, I think we've talked about this before on Mindset Monday, is that, it's instant gratification is not, everything it's cracked up to be. How about that? It's not
Oh yeah,
everything it's cracked up to be. It's, long-term deferred, what do they call it? Oh man, deferred
delayed
gratification,
gratification.
I get delayed gratification, yeah, all of that is, there's something to be said for that. Like, I can tolerate discomfort for a short time in order to, anyway, get feel
Yeah,
better to
I
watch.
mean, instant gratification. I feel I've
That's
been
a
on a
whole nother
rabbit hole lately.
conversation.
We don't want to open this box. But like I feel like that is like the cornerstone of the unraveling of fabric of society.
Like I said, a
I mean,
whole
don't
nother
get me wrong. Like
conversation, right?
I definitely
Yeah.
partake in some instant gratification at times. Like I ate a whole. I bought myself. I bought all of us Dubai chocolate for Christmas. Have you had that stuff?
Ooh, no, I'm afraid
Oh,
to. It
Nicole.
sounds
Yeah, you
much too
probably
good.
shouldn't. I mean, it's
Nope, nope, nope.
it's a
Nope,
whole
nope. Don't think
it's a
I'm
whole
gonna do that.
trend that I only learned about recently. But it's like it's chocolate, but the filling is pistachio cream and these like crunchy pastry
Oh
bits. Oh, it's
God,
so good. And
sounds good.
I bought us each a bar and put it in our stocking, and I ate my whole bar on Christmas. So like
Well,
I
there you go.
have had my share of instant gratification. Like I'm
Yes,
not immune to
yes,
it. I don't say
yeah.
this like I'm preaching from a pulpit. And I also recognize that that's not helpful behavior for me, and it's not something I engage in on a regular basis.
Right. But indulgence is not a bad thing, just like everything in moderation. So, right? Like it's all the baseline, like you talked about earlier, right? What is your baseline? Is your baseline normally to eat a whole bar of Dubai chocolate in one day? No, that is not your baseline, right? That is an indulgence, that's an exception. And I think that, anyway, to think that we're never going to do something indulgent is probably not realistic. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
like
mean
to do something at least once a week that is indulgent, at least a little bit
something
on the
like
scale. Right.
living life is meant to be lived. But let's not blur the line between indulgence into self-care. That is the issue that I see often.
Yes, I love it. All right, what's our call to action? We are out of time today. Um, Let me check my notes. What do you have on your, what are you thinking?
Before you nod along that you give yourself the love that you so freely give to other people, I encourage you to pause and take inventory of what that really means. What are the actions that you're taking consistently that show your self-love? And then what is one thing that you can either remove from that list or add to that list that would actually be honoring yourself, meaning benefiting your future self, because that is self-love.
I love it. I love it. So that's a wrap on today's Mindset Monday. We are so grateful for you and this community of independent patient advocates. We hope that today's quote and conversation have been helpful for both your personal and your work life. And if you want to continue that conversation, check us out on the Wednesday weekly Advocacy Power Hour, which is free, where we talk more about how to implement this into your business and your practice every day. So have a great week. We'll see you next Monday, same time, same bat channel. Have a great week, guys. Bye.